Here we go, here we go, here we go. Welcome, everybody, to the Inside Hustle, Unfiltered Soul Truth with Joanna Walden. This is a beautiful interview series I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I have so many beautiful friends and peers in this realm of transformation and wellness and soul growth. And I just thought it'd be nice to start up some conversations that could serve, inspire, and activate you from the inside out, which is what I'm all about. And today, I have my beautiful friend Brian Berneman here. And Brian is a global wellness educator. He blends neuroscience with ancient wisdom. He's got over 15 years of holistic practice into an integrative approach to well-being. He is the co-founder of Conscious Action and You Being You, and a guiding light for those navigating a more intentional life. Brian also lives in my neighborhood. I get to see him at the farmers market every weekend, which is really fun. And so I just wanted to dive into a conversation and introduce Brian to everybody because Brian's amazing. And I just thought bringing his beautiful, unique take on his wisdom and his path would be really, really inspiring for everybody else. So welcome, Brian.
Thank you so much, Joanna. It's such a pleasure to be here. As you're saying, like we keep on seeing each other at the market and all of these different things, but it's also nice to just sit down and to be able to just chat. And when this is recorded, because as we've been talking, we have a lot of these conversations, but then we are not recording them and people can't benefit from them. So here we are.
Exactly. It's so, so amazing. So why don't we just get right into it and start with we're in some pretty wild times right now. There is some all sorts of stuff going on the planetary level. And I don't know about you, but my experience is I am opening up all sorts of way deeper cosmic and galactic revelation within me. Like these kind of soul codes that just seem to be wanting to birth here, there, and everywhere. And stuff is coming into, in my life at least, a new level of alignment and direction that is giving birth to all of that. And I'm really excited about this time on the planet right now. So I don't know what's happening for you. Tell me about what your take is and what you're experiencing right now.
Hmm. I think that there's a lot happening. Um, and I think that one of the biggest things that I've been noticing is one, and this has been happening a little bit for a while now, things have been accelerating. Like time has been accelerating, people's transformations have been accelerating, people waking up, and like how all of that is changing. Um, my view, and I think that partly because I've been in this, let's call it realm or space for such a long time, is that I knew that something like this was coming. I think that we all knew there's something that is coming and that is going to be more profound, and there's something that is going to be more transformational, and all of the energies are going to be there for that, which at the same time, it means there's a big collapse. Like in the time that there's a transformation, you need to leave behind the old stuff. So, like, the interesting thing for me here a lot of times is, working with so many people is, okay, let's bring it back down to your own experience. Yes, all of this is happening. What's your experience and how can we navigate this? And I think that this is the one of the biggest things that I tend to focus on is learning to navigate this. Like we have all of these waves coming, and it's like, what are we going to do? We can either just wait for them to hit us, or we can, grab the surfboard and and ride them. And it's like, what are we going to do? And adjusting and being open, because those things are really important at this time. Because when things start to shift, and like lately, I've been having a lot of conversations with clients around AI and what this means, like in the near future, just from a work perspective. Like so many people losing their jobs and stuff like that, and it's like, well, that's going to happen. We're not stopping that. We are actually going to get to what I've been hoping for such a long time, that our system is not longer reliant on us having to make money to live. And when we are able to actually allow, technology to be like, oh, technology can do all of these different things that we've been doing now, hopefully, then that means there's a shift in the financial system and there's a shift that we can actually start to live life and not just do stuff to be able to live life.
Yes.
Because yes, of course, like we are living life all of the time, even when we are working. But majority of people are not doing what they want to be doing.
Mm.
Like I know that I'm really fortunate and privileged to be able to, for such a long time, do what I want to be doing. Like I keep on telling people a lot of times, I'm doing what I'm doing, whether I'm getting paid or not. Whether I'm making a living from it or not. Because if money isn't a thing anymore, like 80-90% of what I do, I would do the same.
Yeah.
So, I think that in terms of that, like I know that I'm in a privileged position, but majority of people are not the one that they want to be doing. They are going to an office just to make money, just to be able to afford a living. And now when this is slowly starting to shift, like it's exciting, and at the same time, if we don't have the tools and the ways of knowing how can we transition and how can we navigate this, it is challenging. And this is, like I'm seeing so many people so dysregulated and so many people with challenges. And yeah, it's exciting.
Mm.
And at the same time, for people going through it, it is challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that point, and I agree, like everyone, is being called into their unique template to do on the planet what they came here to do in their unique energy signature that is like no other. And we can do that by showing up in corporate spaces and different things for a while. But if that's going to be limiting in any regard to that nature that is wanting to kind of blossom from us, then it is going to get uncomfortable. And so, have you noticed like the change in your clients and what those needs are? And then I guess like what's the top tool that you are seem to be working with or that seems to be helping people right now who are in that situation?
Mm, yeah, I think that there's been a couple of different things that lately has been more needed from what I do. One is understanding and changing on perspectives, like allowing ourselves to widen our perspectives to allow other things. Now, of course, I'm doing that depending on the person with different ways, but mostly what I've been doing is a lot of sound, so a lot of vibration, lots of coming back to the body and allowing that, that flow through the sound as well to come and to create that shift that a lot of times we don't need to understand it. It's just there and it's just coming, it changes, that's it. And the other big thing is through a lot of ancestral healing all of those things that we don't even know that we are carrying for those that came before us, and that created so many of the beliefs that we have, so many of the patterns and the tendencies, because we had to develop a lot of survival mechanisms based on the things that came before us. So as we do that, the same, we don't need to understand fully everything. We just need to understand that we are releasing some of the things that no longer are serving us, so
Right.
that then we can open ourselves up to the new. And I think that that combination of things is it's what's most alive now. Like there's so much that I've been working with ancestral healing, that is huge at the moment. Like I think that at the moment potentially like 70% of my clients are coming for that, and
Wow.
it's huge because as well it's so unknown what came before us, and even from the things that we know, we don't know the full story, of what happened, especially, and this is the key, especially what happened emotionally.
Yeah.
People don't know. It's like I ask sometimes to people when they see me, and it's like, do you know anything about, like your great grandpa? or even your grandma, and they're like, ah, yeah, well, so he was this or she was that. Like, I'm like, not what they did, like how did they feel, like when, how were they as a person, what was their behavior like, what was their emotional world, were they completely shut down, which means that now everything that they experienced wasn't able to be processed, so now you're carrying that. What's the belief that they have around, success, or around safety, or around money, or around relationships, like what are the things that we're carrying from them? We don't know. And I think that when we're able to be open, which most people that I work with are, to be open, to just tap into the energy field and to heal things from there, even if we don't know in our heads the full stories,
Mm.
all that I care about really is this was holding on to you. You were holding on to this, and now you're not. So even if you don't know exactly what happened, that's all that matters. It's like I'm no longer carrying stuff from them,
Mm.
and I'm able to actually be here and to open myself up and to be choosing something new for myself, which for a lot of people it's also scary because as we're talking, like there's something new that's coming, there's changes. Most people are really uncomfortable with that. Most people are really comfortable staying with the, even if it's a really uncomfortable situation, they are comfortable there because we are creatures of habits, and what our system is set up to do is to protect us.
Mm.
And one of the things is from change.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like this moment of being able to expand requires for us to let go and peel some of these layers and release some of these things that we've been carrying and have been heavy on us.
Mm.
And majority of people, it's incredible because they don't even know, and I know this from experience. We don't even know that we're carrying all of those things and how heavy they are until we actually feel that, and it's like, whew, like this is a lot, and then we're able to hopefully release it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I guess, you and I both do that work in different ways. I'm working I do the deprogramming with people, on all layers of their being. But again, also in that unknown space, like I get downloaded with sacred geometric technologies to work in people's light body, essentially, that helps us remove that stuff and all of that buildup of these layers that are in front of that organic template of light that we carry. And you do it. It's family constellations is what you're referring to, like with your
Yeah.
generational line work, right? Yeah. So you're doing it slightly differently, and I've actually never experienced the family constellation process yet, but I will do
Mm.
it.
Yeah,
But
it's amazing.
yeah,
and
cool.
and as well, and I talked about this as well. Sorry to interrupt, but
No,
I talked about this with so many other family constellation practitioners that I'm not only doing family constellations. When I'm doing family constellations, I
yeah,
realized that it's like I'm bringing something else, that it's not just that, and I'm okay with that, And that's why sometimes I struggle with, like, should I call it family constellation or should I call it something else, or it's like, part of that.
yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of more the old paradigm, like, oh, we have to fit it into a certain box, or we can't use that label because it's like this or whatever. And ultimately, it's like we're all bringing through that beautiful blend. It might be inspired by some kind of template of family constellations or another tool and technique. And yet we are crafting and bringing it through our own energy signature that makes it special and unique to work with and resonate with certain people and not others. So, yeah, it's really interesting how that all works. Yeah. So, do you feel like for your personal experience right now, how are you feeling versus maybe even a decade ago about where you're at, who you are, what's really what you're here on the planet for? Have you had any kind of unveiling or a shift in that regard or an opening?
Yeah, and I mean, through the years, I started this journey around 20 years ago, and it's been really interesting seeing how not only I keep on going through layers that more and more it's more subtle, like through the years. It's kind of like the first few years of my path were quite bigger stuff, and then it's like, okay, subtle, 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 subtle. And one of the biggest things that I realized was how the integration part into my everyday life, that was the biggest thing. To understand how am I living all of this all the time and not, like just in a few moments, and to be able to be so present with all of these different energies and to be able to hold so much. Like I realize how easy it is to be able to hold so much energy now, and to
Mm.
be able to hold so much energy for big groups of people. Like in the last few festivals, for example, that I run some workshops, and I'm holding that energy for 200 people as if I'm holding it for two people. It's not, there's not that much of a difference. And as well, I think that for me specifically, there's been such a knowing of this is what I'm here for, this is what I'm doing. And now it's the last couple of years has been more of a, okay, even though it's not what I wanted to do in the past, I need to show up more so that people can see. Because unfortunately, nowadays with social media and all of that, people need to see you.
Yes.
And it's something that I didn't want to do. I did like I was happy. It's just like just staying a little bit kind of like anonymous, and just yeah, people come to me as it's been. But now it's like, okay, like I need to show. I need to go out, and I need to be able to show not only hey, I exist, as well, this is possible. You know, I went from being such a stressed out, disconnected person, uh, super anxious with road rage in the time that I was driving, to all of that is completely in the past.
Yeah.
So I know how possible it is to come back to the bodies,
Mm.
to be able to work with the mind very differently, to be able to open myself to energies and to allow myself to channel and to download and to feel into someone else's and to work with the energy field and to do all of these things that I'm like, well, yes, I am unique. Yes, I am special. And so is everyone else.
Yeah.
So to be able to understand there is a path, and I want to show that path, and it doesn't need to be my path. It doesn't need to be, they don't need to repeat that. Like whatever their path is, that's going to be there for them. But just, stepping more into a leadership space, let's call it, to be able to actually be like, I know this. I know what I know, and I know that I don't know most things, but I know what I know. And comparing to a lot of people, I know a lot.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to share more. And to do that, I needed to step up in terms of how I'm showing up. And to be able to do that not only here in New Zealand, but all around the world. And to be able to show up with, kind of like a putting the flag down, and it's like, I'm here, let's do this. Like, let's create this change. And I know that I'm here much more as a, you know, someone that is creating that ripple effect so that we can change into the potential that we have as humans and as a civilization to go towards where we need to go, and not get sucked into all of the negativity and all of the apocalypses ideals that we have based on movies and whatever. It's like,
Mhm.
no, like we're moving towards this place, like follow me kind of thing.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting because I do feel like we're in the age of transparency where it's kind of becoming very apparent people who aren't really walking their talk or embodying the practices that maybe they're teaching about, so to speak. And you and me both, like I really have I pride myself in sort of, I've had to do this for myself to get myself to here, like, and it does involve every moment of every day. It's not like oh, I'm showing up on here and this is who I am. It's like that stretches across my whole life. And do I get it, perfect all the time? Absolutely not. I mean, it's life. But I do have the reflection and the self-awareness that I bring into everything, and am so interested to share and engage with others' experience as we go through this journey together. And I think it's a real point that you also made about this discernment that's required right now, and about actually really dialing into what's the truth within you and where's that leading. And I've been over the last few years noticed that I've been really been guided into handing over to divine will over personal will. But there is a fine line, because you can't just sort of show up and be like, oh, I'm just waiting for the universe to sort it out. It doesn't work like that. But I don't know if you have anything on your experience of that, but I really notice the more that I hand over to divine will, but yet I'm inspired and following the direction, and I have intention and I'm consciously creating with it, then wow, that's when the magic really starts happening.
Mm. Yeah, I think that there's, for me, a lot of times, life is a co-creation.
Yeah.
There is the trust and there is the riding the waves of the divine or the universe, or if we want to call it God or however we want to call it, with the this is my energy, this is my momentum as well, and I'm choosing this co-creation, and I'm choosing a little bit of where that is going, because in a sense there's, energetically, there's all of the potentials, like all of them are there, so I could choose to ride any wave that I want in a way. So I need to, as you're saying, discern and to choose and to co-create what I want with the universe, to be like, yeah, this is the direction. Now, at the same time, there's a lot of trust, because I'm like, yeah, I'm going in that direction, but I don't have like, I'm going to that place. I'm just going in that direction. And if then there's a redirection, then I'm like, okay, there's a redirection, and then okay. And I think that openness to be able to co-create is so important,
Yes.
because yes, a lot of people are just waiting and waiting and waiting. And even though that's okay, we do have a say on all of this. We don't need to wait until things happen to us so that we move.
Mhm.
And that is one of the biggest things for me, that through the years I've been inviting people to do, is like, don't wait. Just wherever you are now, this is the moment to create changes. This is a moment of taking action. This is a moment of being more aware, to understand how can we co-create this life, not only with the universe, but also with each other.
Mhm.
Because if we're just waiting, we might get, kind of like, it's the same as when someone starts to get a disease. Your body has been speaking to you way before you got the disease. We just weren't listening because we didn't know. It's not, it's no one's fault. It's just that if we hadn't created the conditions for us to be able to notice the little whispers from the universe, or from our own bodies, then there's no way that we can actually do something. But if we know, well, why am I going to wait until something happens? Or why am I going to wait until the universe is like completely in my face saying like, well, it's right here. It's just like, oh, it's over there. Yeah, cool. Let's go over there instead of waiting so much. And sometimes we need to create space and time for that to unfold as well. So it's not that the speed is necessary. It's
Yeah.
just that we need to be able to allow things, but also do things. So there's this beautiful balance between being and noticing and allowing and surrendering, with the, okay, I'm going to take action, I'm going to do things.
Yes.
And where is that coming from? That's also important.
Yes, yes, I love that. Yeah, because I think there's a tendency in the way that we're programmed and conditioned in this reality, and the survival mechanisms operating within us make it harder for us to tune into the body, hear what our true self is speaking, or the whispers of the soul, or whatever you want to call it. And then, we can just get caught up in that, and that just the kind of going through the motions of life. And we're both like deprogramming ourselves and our clients out of that kind of stuff and helping guide others through a different path. And it's so interesting because, we all come to it in our own time, but I always kind of, waiting's kind of like a wound. If we're waiting, there is some kind of energy associated with why we think we're waiting or we aren't creating in that moment, or you know what I mean? There's kind of like a push-pull frequency going on there, which is always interesting to notice because we can also spiritual bypass all our way out of that, a lot, because it's easy to do so when we're like, oh, well, it's divine timing and blah, blah, blah. And I gotta say, I call a bit of BS on that mostly because we are in this co-creation, as you say, and it is a beautiful kind of fine dance in the way that we move forward within after the inspiration. The feminine brings in the inspiration and the listening to those whispers, and then the masculine comes in to action that. And when we start to do that and follow the unknown path rather than having it mapped out from A to D, then when we can sit in that space of discomfort as we go along through it, and when it's time to move, it's time to move. And if not, we're working on our own energetics in between. That's where I think is, that kind of new kind of way of moving through life that we have been embodying and how we're also teaching others to do also. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so important to be able to notice. I think that that is one of the greatest things that we can do. Notice that because then we can notice, as you're saying, that tension or that pull and they can take and just being able to notice like, oh, what are the things that I've been carrying that are preventing me from seeing or from noticing or from
Yeah.
feeling. And I think that this is why we need so much to create changes for ourselves, to be able to notice more. Because majority of the people, and I was one of them, majority of the people that I see have no idea how to feel. And
Yes.
if we have no idea how to feel, then how are we going to listen,
Yeah.
to that knowing? Because that knowing, most of the time, comes from the body and not so much from the mind. Sometimes it does come from the mind. The thing is that the mind is so polluted in a sense that it's harder to trust that what the mind is saying, it's not a survival mechanism, and it is really what the energies are there supporting us to follow. So the more that we're able to let go of the old and to open ourselves up to noticing what are those messages that are coming from within, what are the messages that are coming from outside, to be able to follow. And as you said that as well, the energies of the feminine and the masculine are so important to be able to create some balance and to be able to allow both of them to be a big part of us,
Yeah.
and to work on releasing the toxic femininity, the toxic masculinity from our energy, so that then we are able to show up in what many call divine feminine and divine masculine.
Mhm.
And sometimes if the word divine means something different, it's like forget the word divine. It's just like energies, but not in a toxic way. That's it. And
Pure
to be able to,
version.
yeah, exactly. It's just like there's the energies and that's it. It's kind of like and how to be able to use both of them because we need both of them because we are both of them, and to be able to understand, as well, there's no need to compare myself to anyone. There's no need for me to compare myself to you or your path or where you're going or what you're doing. It's like, what is the my being's truth? And my being's truth is my being's truth. It might not be yours. It might not be anybody else's. I was working with a couple of clients lately that they came to me because they felt like there was a lot of different things, but one of the things that they wanted was they wanted to learn how to heal. And and I was kind of like, they started asking me about Reiki and a couple of other techniques, and I was like, yeah, this is irrelevant for you. Like you need to download your own stuff.
Yes. 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 I love.
So I was kind of like, let's create the conditions so that you can do that and you feel confident enough that what you're bringing in
Yeah.
is actually something that you feel comfortable sharing, even if it doesn't have a name, even if you don't have no idea what you're doing. It's kind of like there was one of my clients that every time that we were working with energy, that like she started to do all of these different things with her hand, and she's like, I have no idea. And I'm like, allow that, because that is how you're bringing those energies. And
Yes.
that is how then you're going to heal people in your
Yes.
own way. And eventually you'll figure out if it has a name or if it's a technique that you want to then share with others or not. But as well, there's this thing that I've been seeing a lot, that it's not everyone needs to work as a healer. Not everyone needs to do this. Just because we're able to download something doesn't mean that we have to, make that our work, or, we can use it for ourselves or for the people in our lives, and that's it. We don't need to charge for it, potentially. Or potentially, yes, potentially that's our path. But there's so much that it's kind of like we just need to allow things, and we just need to be open to the energies and for our uniqueness. As we're all unique, we need to allow that take place.
Absolutely. I love that because what really threw me off in my journey, in my path way back in the day, was I was trying to have the experience that someone else was teaching or showing. And because I wasn't having that experience, I thought I didn't have it, or it was broken, or I needed to do something to switch it on, or blah blah blah, activate it, or whatever else. And I think that's a huge misconception. And one of these things that I love getting into, because it's like everyone has got their own unique way, as you say, that they're going to work with energy, that they're going to bring in. And maybe you're creating your own Reiki symbols that you are using for your healing strengths and abilities. Or maybe you're using that to create whatever else in your business that you're using, like in your retail business or whatever, and you're programming your products or whatever it is. There's so much that you can do energetically with all of this. And most people, I think, are under this sort of vague illusion that it needs to be something else, or they have to learn a modality that's got credibility or anything like that. And, I came from that journey because what was downloaded to me wasn't out there. And it is something that has been a co-creation with, these different dimensional versions of me that I bring through all this information and energy activations to help and assist and bring people into this recognition of their true self. And for me, that's the most exciting place to be. I
Mm.
find that, and I just think this, everything to do with sort of like, oh, getting accreditations and all this is really kind of part of the old paradigm.
Yeah, and at the same time, I do believe that. And at the same time, for those that feel more at ease or more confident in their own abilities and what they are downloading, if they have
That's a big
some modality or something that is accredited, just to give them the like, okay, this is not bullshit. Like people can be like, I actually studied something. I'm not just coming and being like, because there is that as well. There's a lot of bullshit out there, and it's like, oh, I'm just going to bring all of these different codes and things, and it's like,
yeah,
who,
yeah,
who knows? Yeah, it might be amazing or it might not be. And that's also how we resonate. But for the people that are going through it, sometimes we can get the confidence to be able to step into the space of doing our own thing when we have some kind of structure that was already valid before.
yeah.
So that's a really individual thing.
Yeah, the foundations are important, and it's also sometimes part of the journey. I think it's just more that I think there is fear around creating something new versus defaulting to something that already exists. And me being my like kind of rebellious new paradigm kind of like that I am, I love it when you can get people into a space where, because a lot of people just need the permission. I needed the permission to be able to feel into the fullness of me and what was here to come through. And when I had all that stuff in the way, none of that was showing up. And so, that was many years ago that all that kind of came through for me. But it was a journey to get there. And I definitely went around the outside and like down the thing and whatever else along the way. And all of it was part of it, of course. But I think just the energies are so different now on the planet. It's just so, so, so fast, as you say, and accelerated that it is giving people the opportunity and the license to be tuning into this different perspective, different interdimensional perspective, even because stuff is coming from all sorts of different realms of consciousness and different versions of us, even that wants to show up in this reality right now to connect with whoever needs to come into contact with that, whether it's small scale or big scale, or whether it's doing it through a business or a service or a doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think I'd love to just give people that inspiration around that, that it is okay to
Mm.
explore, you know?
And one of the biggest things with all of this is being able to be present, to be in our body, especially when we are, exploring so much of these multidimensional energies.
Mm.
There's a tendency for people to neglect their physicality and to neglect this vehicle that we have. That yes, I do believe that that vehicle is slightly changing to accommodate the fifth dimension. Yes, and through that, there's still a physicality.
Yeah.
We still need to actually care about this in our own way, whatever we believe, however we want to nourish our bodies, however we want to move, we need to do it in our own ways, but we need to be in the body, being embodied to be able to actually channel and to anchor all of those energies are so important. And to be able to do that allows us then to have more confidence in who we are and to step into the place that we need to step into. Because if we have no confidence in who we are and our truth, it is more challenging to then show up for others. And when we're able to be, when we're able to allow, when we're able to explore and to move the energies, it's so much easier to be like, oh yeah, I got this. You don't believe what I'm saying? Cool, you don't believe what I'm saying. That you're not for me, like you don't need to be in my sphere
No.
and I don't need to be in your sphere.
Mhm.
But I know this to be the truth. And the more that we're able to do that as well, the easier it is for people to, to vibe with us and to be magnetized and to understand like, oh, I need what Joanna is bringing, or I need what Brian is bringing, or I need that person is bringing. And if we don't, then it's like, cool, like they are, they are not for me.
Yeah.
And that is perfectly fine. But to allow all of that, and as well, and this has been part of my journey, to be able to blend things and to be able to speak in a sense different languages and not just in terms of actual languages, different ways of getting people to open up
Yeah.
with the words that I'm using. So, like, it's a very different thing talking to you and talking to some of my clients than when I'm teaching at university or when I'm working with corporate. It's like I need to show up differently. I need to use different words to be able to connect with where they are, to
Mm.
be able to show up for them instead of being like, oh, I'm just going to talk about like the 5D. And it's like, well, if I go to the university and start talking about the 5D, that's not going to be very helpful. So, it's kind of like notching that open, and perhaps at some point, yes, I can talk about that. But initially, like, I just need to talk about a very different language, mental health, different things. And I think that this allowing and this being, connected to ourselves and understand, well, that's part of my path. My path is blending things, is reaching different people in different spaces. And some other people is like, I just want to work with all, like, just spiritually more woo-woo type of people. And I don't want to change my vocabulary. I don't want to be able to like have to say anything to get people like awesome. That's also me. That's what I
Yeah.
chose and what has been for me. And when we are able to trust that and to be able to be more confident within ourselves, then that's the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Lovely. Yeah, it is. We do show up in different spaces and places depending on the audience and depending on where people are at. Like we do that with clients every day, you show up totally differently compared to the client's needs. And that's just, how we operate in that space. But yeah, it's interesting because you touched on, that importance of the body as well. And I think that is part of the unraveling of what was a big trend in the sort of 80s and 70s, maybe, which was when the gurus were saying, you are not your body. It's not about the body. The body is just like irrelevant, basically. And, we've had to do a lot of disentangling from that teaching, so to speak, to be able to get people to really know that this body is a valuable technology that we are operating out of, and that it is everything to do with the body, even when you are in the space of operating and energetically or different dimensional realms or whatever it is. Like, you literally can't do it unless you are really anchored in your body. It's just so important right now. And
Mm.
yeah, we are the conduit, right? We're that conduit between the heaven and earth, and using our vehicles for those purposes of anchoring different energies and consciousness on the planet. And just by showing up as we are, in any given moment. So yeah, it's really, really beautiful. Um, so what would you say, or do you have a little short practice or something, or a little tool or technique that, helps people in regard to sort of like really being in their body, or maybe even just dialing into their discernment, or any of the things that we've touched on so far?
Well, sometimes it's yes, and also sometimes it's challenging based on what we are blocked. Because with so many people, I'm like, okay, we can do this, like movement or somatic practices, or we can do this more meditation, mindfulness practices. If someone is blocked to that, that is going to be relevant.
Right.
So a lot of times, and this is why, for me, the healing path is such a individual one because we need to figure out where we are to be able to understand, oh, like this person might need a lot of somatic practices to be able to just start to get a sense of what it's like to be in the body. Whereas other people is just like, okay, just you wake up and just move your shoulders, like or shake or dance a little bit, and that's going to bring you into the body so then you have enough awareness to be in the body and then you can do things.
Mm.
There's, we all need something slightly different. For me, the importance of being in the body is paramount, and to be able to understand what works for me is important. And for some people, it's going to be dancing, just put some good music and dance to be able to come into the body instead of having to do like a yoga practice or something that potentially feels more restricted in terms of the fluidity or the type of movement that you need to do. And for some other people, it's like, well, I don't know what to do. If I put music on, I'm not sure if I can trust my body. And I don't know how I look. So then it's like, well, perhaps these people do need to be like, okay, just move your shoulders this way, move your hands this way. It's like being able to bring specific practices, and I think that this is the key. It's just where am I? What are the things that are going to work for me consistently? Because as well, that's the other thing. I remember once one of my teachers told me it is so easy to be disciplined when you find the right discipline as a practice. When you find the right practice, you just do it. It's so easy to be disciplined and consistent with the practice when it's the right practice at this moment for each of us.
I love that.
And I was like, yes, because the belief that mostly we carry that some of these things need to, like be challenging or need to be hard work, that's also like a wrong belief, perhaps.
Mhm.
Why can't it all be easy? Why can't I be like, oh, from today on, I'm going to actually be consistent in my body practice or in my somatic practice, and I'm just going to do X. And then I can do that every day. It's not like some days I'm like, oh my God, or I have so much resistance, or I can't do it. Or it's like, why not? Why can't things be so easy that work for us and allow us to actually do things in our own way? This is part of what, you just mentioned about what happened in the past and how there was so much that we are still taking from there, all of these beliefs and all of these ways that they don't need to be true.
Yeah.
They don't need to be true at this moment
No.
because we are different, things are different, and as well we are all unique. And just because we had to go through 20 years or whatever of our own path for us to get here, someone might do it in 5 minutes, and it's like
Right.
awesome. It's like I don't want you to have to do this for 20 years to get to where you can potentially be tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you are able to do it tomorrow because things are so fast, then let's do that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love that. It is so interesting because, we are being called to constantly like look at our beliefs and where we're operating from and where those came from. Even if they did come from some highly esteemed spiritual guru in the 80s or the 70s, like doesn't mean they can't be open to interpretation and to check in and see if that actually is now forming some kind of limitation within us and what that means for us and where we are heading and what we are wanting to expand into or grow through or whatever, like it's so interesting because it does call for quite regular. I look at my beliefs quite regularly. I don't know about you, but it is something that needs to consistently be re-evaluated in order to also, grow rather than, as you say, butt up against them and then you get a bit of a from the universe or something, or, something goes wrong or whatever to alert you to the fact that this is outdated and old and it's holding you back. Move on, So when we get the memo, it's all good. Or when we front foot it and do that work around it and just check in and
Yeah.
see what are we really operating out of? What's our worldview and constructs? What do we believe about ourselves? And in that, what does that mean? Because that has a direct effect on what we were able to show up and achieve in this world.
And as well, it just takes one moment for our entire lives to be completely different.
Totally.
Like that is also, it's kind of like with some people I'm like, well, from this day on, your life is completely different. And they're like, oh, no, 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 from this day on, your life is completely different.
Hmm.
Like you just transformed something. Now your life is going to be different. Can you allow that to be the case? Because if not, then you're still holding on to that old thing that you just transformed. And we need to allow that any single moment of any single day, that can be it. It's the same as I talk with so many people, this is a big topic always, love, relationships.
Yeah.
It just takes one moment that you meet that person, and if that's the person that you're going to be with your entire life, in the moment you won't know it, but you need to allow it. It's kind of like that's the moment that changes everything, whether you know it or not. And it's kind of like, well, it hasn't worked in the past. Well, perhaps, yes, it didn't work in the past. What about now? Why
Exactly.
not?
Yeah.
For every single person that has been in a steady, long relationship for 40, 50, 60 years, whatever, there was one moment that they met that person, and then their entire lives since then has been with that person.
Mm.
So it's the same with this. It's just like allowing that to happen for us. And as things are accelerating with so many different things in our life, we can allow ourselves to be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm opening myself to a completely different way of being with myself or being with the people around me or with my family or with work or with money or with whatever it is. It's like just allowing when we do something that shifts to open ourselves up to, well, now my entire life is going to be completely different because I just relive something that I had been carrying in my being for my entire life. So I don't know what this looks like. Every
Mm.
time that I'm doing healings, I tell people that you have no idea what your life actually looks like now that you don't have this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that everything is going to change and I'm going to move to the other side of the world and it can be just how I'm feeling. Like, oh, you know, there's no more anxiety. There's no more stress. There's no more of this. It's like, huh, this is a very different way of living. So just allowing that.
Yeah. It is that addiction to our old ways of being that impede any of the progression forward. Because when we're energetically relating to an old version of us that had that thing all the time, or we default back into it unconsciously by not being really present in our awareness and present in our body, then you, unfortunately, a lot of the time people can re-entrain with that. So it's such a crucial point. I love that you brought that through. It's really, really, really important for us to be able to know that things can instantly change. And there's a lot of stories about, oh, healing is just I'm gonna be on this healing journey forever. And part of my kind of way of talking about this is that within the energetics of who and what we are, it's just a consciousness shift that can be split second applied to anything. But if we're constantly in the energy of a healing journey, we're never going to get to the end of that healing journey because we're not embodying the kind of state of being whole and healed. Like if we're going to see we're broken, that's the experience, and we're going to keep having it until we change the embodiment of how we're showing up. And that also works with our creation practices and things coming into alignment with us, like when you start really feeling into the embodiment of that which you might not even have yet, it will come in some way, shape, or form, or things will get thrown up that is in the way of that coming in to allow that process to take place. Because that
Yeah.
in kind of at the base level, the energetics of how it works. Um,
Mm. And I think that there is, and this is something that I talk to a lot of my clients is a lot of times people come and it's like, so how many sessions do you think I would need to do? And I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea. You might need just one session, you might need 50. I have no idea. You might need to do them all within 3 months or all within 5 years. I don't know because we're all unique and I want to know until you change to your next version of yourself
mm,
what's going to be needed. And the allowing as well that I think that it's so important for me because sometimes it's kind of like I try most of the time to make sure that everyone that I'm working with feels more empowered to make decisions and doesn't have to trust me to tell them what's good for them.
yes.
So, it's like someone comes for one session and then, so what should I do now? Go integrate this and feel into, do
Yes.
you need more of this or not? Do you need more of this with me or not? Do you need more of this in 1 year or in 1 month or in 1 week? Just feel into it. And of course, if people are having trouble feeling into it, perhaps they do need more support until they're able to trust their own inner knowing. But the being able to understand this, it's like for someone it might take one session, 5 minutes, and for someone it might take 20 sessions or 5 years to create that transformation. It doesn't need to be long, it doesn't need to be short. It is what it is, and we need to trust that.
Yeah. Trust the inner guru, right? Because I think I also get that people come to me and they want to hand over their power to me as an intuitive to make decisions for them, which is not what I do at all. Like I'm all about the empowerment and reconnecting people through to themselves and back into the feeling on the hearing the subtle messages, however that's coming through to them, because everyone is their own best, you know, healer, GPS guide, like all of it. Like we really are that, we know that for ourselves when we are operating in balance and alignment. And it's so important to, yeah, not be handing over to someone else to fix you or to do it for you or to, even be the oracle or the guidance, even, in that much. But if, people are taking a while to come into it as themselves, then of course we can partner with them to create those frequency adjustments and rebalancing of their emotional, mental, and physical states of being to allow that to happen more powerfully and maybe more prominently for them.
Yeah, it's very different having, as you're saying, that giving our power away because that's the old paradigm
Yeah.
to being able to at this moment where I need that person to walk by next to me, to walk with me, to hold my hand, to allow me to feel that someone is validating my experience, that someone is there with me, that someone is supporting me through this until the moment that I feel that I can walk by myself.
Hmm.
And for some people, again, it might be a long period of time. For some people, it might be just a little bit of a period of time. But not giving the power away is so important because that is part of the old. That is one of the things that we need to leave behind is being sovereign within ourselves and taking responsibility and not being like the victim anymore and being like, oh, doctor, please tell me, it's like, or therapist or coach or whatever, or shaman or however we want to like stop giving away our own power
Yeah.
to others that have no idea what's the right thing for us
Hmm.
and yes, again, they can support us without us having to give our power away.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a really there's been a big shift in balance, I think, of all that, and I'm here for it. Like, it's just the evolution of everything and dealing with everything in the current state of consciousness and energetics that the planet is in right now. And yeah, it's, as I said, it's quite exciting, I feel, and just like, yeah, really fun. Um, yeah, I mean, we're sort of kind of coming to a little bit of a close. I don't know if there's anything that you sort of feel you want to bring forward or you want to share at this point that might be helpful to people in whatever situation they are in right now. That I don't know what's inspiring something as your kind of like final take, or what's on the agenda for you coming up as well.
Um, I think one of the biggest things is trusting our own path and understanding that we are unique and that we can find inspiration in others' journeys, but not comparing ourselves to them.
Yeah.
Because we are all in our own timing, in our own ways, based on the things that we're bringing through, and to being, prioritize being in the body, and to prioritize removing the layers of things that no longer support us. Because that is the thing. The entire path of healing is a returning to our wholeness. It is not an adding things because I am broken, so I need to add stuff. No, it's I am not allowing myself to notice or to connect with that whole perfect being of who I am. And so I need to all of the path of transformation is that just removing the stuff that is there. So finding what is the right way with the right people that is going to support you. Because for some people, this is going to be, as I said, some people they need to work energetically, some people need to work somatically, some people need to work with, this person or that person or that person. For me, that is the biggest thing. Just taking the time and not waiting until you have to do it.
Mm.
Like today is the day. Like if you're listening this now, what are you going to do now? Whether that is, I'm going to listen to a meditation, I'm going to go for a walk out in nature, I'm going to go and have a healing with this person or with that person. Like, don't wait until things get so bad that you are forced to do something.
Mm.
I think those are some of the main things that I wish, it's like people know, and it's kind of like, I remember one of my teachers used to say, like, I feel a lot of times that I need to go and shake people up and be like, look at you, it's just literally grab a mirror and be like, look at you, and just being able to see that we already have the answers,
Yeah. Yeah, I love
but we haven't been taught that. So we just need to create the conditions for us to return to that and to connect with our wholeness so
it.
that then we can start to be more open, more allowing, and surrendering to the path that we are meant to walk as a co-creation, not just as we've been talking, just like, okay, universe takes me. Like, no, it's like we are co-creating that. So yeah, I think that those are some of the main things that I would love to share with people. And
Beautiful.
if they resonate with me, awesome. Like they can find me and work with me in so many different ways. Uh, like I'm always like that. It's kind of like if they resonate with me, cool. Come check it out. Go to my website. Find me. If you live in Auckland, come and see me at the Life Center. If you don't, find me online. It's like uh, I have a few really exciting stuff coming up, so that's awesome. I have a new subscription membership space for online classes and online courses called Conscious Moments, and that's going to launch quite soon. And I have a documentary coming out that it's really awesome. So Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Showing up, as I was saying, this is my moment for showing up a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing. So I have the documentary coming up, and I have conscious moments coming, and all of the things that I keep on doing regularly. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff coming up. And as always, for the right people, I'm here.
Amazing. And so I'll put it in the show notes, but tell us what's your website and what are your social media handles so that people could go and find you.
So my name, Brian Berneman. So at Brian Berneman or brianberneman.com. I'm on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm on the Conscious Action podcast by Brian Berneman. That's the podcast that's on YouTube, that's on Spotify, iTunes, or whatever it is, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, that people find things. And yeah, like, depending on where you connect, find me there.
Amazing. Thank you, Brian, for bringing your beautiful, heartfelt, expansive conversation and just all of the things that were coming and flowing into this today. I hope you're all inspired out there. And if you have any questions or comments, please, put them below this video and we can keep an eye on that and come back to anything or put people in touch or whatever it is. So thank you again for bringing your beautiful light to this planet. And yeah, I hope everyone has a beautiful rest of the day wherever they are.
Yeah, thanks, Joanna. Thanks, everyone. Bye.